Good morning, YouTube. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, man. We got a lot to talk about here in this video. I could not wait until I got back on here to review this fight. Shout out to everyone that was here yesterday for the live commentary for both cards for Katie Taylor and Chantel Cameron, and also Devin Haney against Vasil Lomachenko. All right. A lot of controversy behind the decision last night, but we are going to talk about it. Some of you were here. I was able to go back and rewatch the fight. Not only was I able to go back and rewatch the fight, but I got to listen to a lot of boxers that was in the building, their reviews of the fight. A lot of just trainers from everybody that's reacted off this fight. I think 80% of people believe that Lomachenko won the fight or he got robbed in some sort of way. All right. So we're going to discuss that. I'm not going to go through everybody because I don't know everybody, and everybody has different opinions and different views on a fight, which is cool. I know last night, for the people that were here before they actually had read the scorecard, I know most of the people in my chat thought it was 7-5 either way or a draw. Most people. I think there was a few people that had it 8-4 for whatever way, but most people agreed that it was close. But when the scorecards officially came out and they heard 16-1-12 and then they heard unanimous decision, everyone went crazy. I bet not all of the comments, but some of the comments that I received last night from people right after the fight, how this is one of the worst robberies of all time, how that this is, the commission and everyone needs to overturn this decision. This has been one of the most overreacted calls of a robbery that I've ever seen on this channel. Overreaction of a robbery. And what I mean by that is there are robberies like last week between Rolly Romero and Ismael Barroso, which I think is a clear robbery. Fight was stopped for absolutely no reason, right? I think that's a clear robbery. Whereas this fight here was actually a really competitive fight, a really close fight with swing rounds in a fight between both. And before we heard the scorecards, I said I can see it going 75 for either side. I have no personal relationship with the Haneys. I've been very critical of the Haneys over the years, as far as, specific things that were said, specific things that were done. Same with Lomachenko. I've been critical over certain things with him and his career and his fans as well. I did have money on Haney, a very small amount, because I wasn't really that confident in him winning. But I thought he would find a way edging it. And I figured that it wasn't going to be clear. I figured that if he did win, I figured it was going to be controversial. All right. But I call the fight as fairly as I can. I call it as I see it. And that's it. I had money on Katie Taylor yesterday. I thought Katie was going to pull out a close, tough fight. I scored it for Chantel Cameron. I scored it for her. Even though I was losing money, I still scored it for the person that I bet against. It is what it is. Call it fair every single time I get on here. All right? But this fight here, let me tell you something. I've never seen people overreact this way. And I know why. Devin Haney is officially public enemy number one in this sport right now. He is. All right. He was getting booed before the fight. He got booed after the fight. He is fighting not only as the American here, but the fighter in Vegas who lives in Vegas. He got booed before the fight. People in that building wanted him to lose. The cries for the ducking, for Lomachenko ducking him, the franchise title. All right. The white boy I will never lose to a white boy. The dirty fighter call outs, the push at the weigh-in. He is the villain. He played the bad guy role. At this point, he might as well embrace it at this point. Now that you got the decision and everyone is saying that this is the worst robbery they've seen in a long time, the reaction I'm getting from this is what I saw from Pacquiao and Jeff Horn. And even I can even compare it to, I mean, it's just one day. So I want to see how long this is going to go. It's definitely going to go for the rest of the week and probably into next week. But this is even comparable to Manny Pacquiao and Tim Bradley. All right. I'm talking about the reaction itself. Do I think we should be getting that reaction? Absolutely not. But the villain won the fight. And going back and rewatching the fight, it didn't serve no justice for me because I think Haney last night won the fight 7 rounds to 5. I thought there were some swing rounds, that could have gone Loma's way. That was fair. I thought, the first round was a swing round. I thought the third was a fight, round that could have gone either way. I thought that, I think maybe the 7th was a swing. I think there was a few rounds here that was pretty debatable to me. But after rewatching it without, and now I'm focused on the guy that lost, to be honest. I'm focused on Lomachenko. I'm focusing zeroing in more on the shots that should have won him the fight. And as I'm rewatching it, I'm even doubling down more on Haney winning the fight. I know that's not going to be a popular opinion, and I don't really care because I've been here before, and I'm not backing down on how I feel about the fight. I think that Haney won the fight, and I think it should have been unanimous. I think it was competitive, but I don't think Loma won the fight, and I don't think the only clear rounds that I gave for Lomachenko is the 10th and the 11th round. And I understand that is a judge, Dave Moretti, that scored that 10th round to Devin Haney, which is crazy. I mean, that is just one of the clearest rounds in the fight. The 10th and 11th rounds are two of the most clear rounds in this entire fight. But for Loma, though the only two clear rounds for me, Haney has clear rounds throughout this entire fight. I mean, what I saw after rewatching it is not just the right hands to the body, but the amount of uppercuts and an amount of right hands up top that Devin Haney clean landing against Lomachenko, who was walking straight forward. We're talking about the left hands that Loma landed. Yes, absolutely. Loma landed a lot of straight left hands. That was the punch that he landed in the fight. A couple uppercuts too, but the straight left hand was the punch that he scored, but it just was not enough. He was not nearly as consistent as Devin Haney. Not nearly as consistent. And I've read your comments. No, this is not a street fight. If this was a street fight, it would have definitely went to this. This is not a street fight. This is boxing. We score rounds. We don't score who won the fight or who we feel beat the other fighter up. Yes, 10th and 11th round, Haney was buzzed a little bit. Yes, he got hit with good shots. Yes, Loma was dominant those 2 rounds. Absolutely. But those are 2 rounds out of 12 rounds. Loma didn't even win the 12th round. Haney clearly won the 12th round. Clearly won the 12th round. He didn't dominate, but he clearly won. It was just no consistency with Lomachenko. He gave most of the first rounds, the earlier rounds, the first half of the rounds up. Most of them he gave up. He gave up. The first round yesterday, I gave to Lomachenko. Today, I gave it to Haney. I gave it to Haney. I went back and watched it, and I said, Haney landed way more punches in the first round. And this is what happens when you're the favorite. You're the unliked person, the underdog, which is alone. You over glorify everything that he lands, everything that he did in each round. We over glorifying it. I'm hearing it in the commentary. Anytime he lands it, Loma's coming back. Oh, watch out for the straight lefts. All right, but what about the 3 punches that Haney just landed that you guys are not bringing up? This is not about whether you like Haney or not. This is about boxing and scoring rounds. And at the end of the day, Haney was consistent throughout the fight. Even the few rounds that I gave to Lomachenko, the 7th and 8th rounds, close, very close rounds. Those rounds could have easily gone to Haney. Haney won this clear to me, 7 rounds to 5. I'm not even mad at the 8 rounds to 4. I'm not even mad at that. I'm not mad about the decision at all. I think it was a mistake for me to even going back, because this is why I don't like going back and watching fights right away, because we heard some kind of controversies. Yes, sometimes we do change our opinion, but sometimes it's towards the fighter that everybody's angry at. And I think Haney clearly won this fight. I know there's a lot of boxers that was there, that said there was some that gave it to Haney as well, but most people felt like Lomachenko won the fight. I get it. Lomachenko is the underdog. Lomachenko is the humble guy that everybody loves, but at the end of the day, he did not win this fight. And not only that, but I've seen Lomachenko he at one point was so much better. He was so much better. I mean, this whole waiting the second half to win fights is just ridiculous at this point. In this fight, I don't even feel like he waited to the second half. I mean, he picked it up. He finally started letting his hands go in the 7th round. But these rounds are still close rounds. The 6th was clear for Haney for me. The 5th was clear. The 4th was clear. I thought the 3rd round was a swing round. But, I mean, again, Haney is doing the majority. It's like the 3rd round here. Most people gave Loma the 3rd round, right? When you watch a 3rd round, outside of the last minute, which Haney was attacking too, and Haney landed too, Loma landed some of the best shots within that last minute. But the first couple minutes of that round, Haney is winning the round. But when Loma lands, the crowd goes crazy. The commentary is acknowledging every punch that he lands. Why? Because he's not landing that many punches. He's not. He's not doing enough. It's not enough. You're letting too many rounds get away from you. You got this guy that's consistently landing right hands to the body. He's consistently landing right hands as you charge in up top. And as you're trying to spin and turn around him, he's pivoting and following you every single time. You're not just stepping around. This is not Nicholas Walters. You're not just stepping around him and toying with him like you've done with other fighters in the past. You're not getting that off here. You didn't get it off against Teofimo Lopez. You really didn't even get it off against Jermaine Ortiz like that. You cannot tell me that this fighter, and I love Lomachenko, but you cannot tell me that this guy is anywhere near on the level as what we saw from him against Gary Russell and Nicholas Walters. I even went back and watched these fights because I went back and watched those fights specifically because those are 2 huge wins. Those were Lomachenko, prime Lomachenko at his best, attacking early, not giving the first half of every fight away the majority of these fights because you want to download information. You want to process your opponent. You give too many rounds away. And for the fact that people are screaming robbery for a guy that deliberately gives the first half of his fights away in all of his losses, all 3. He picked it up in a Salido fight late. He picked it up against Teofimo late. He picked it up to Devin Haney late. He even picked it up against Ortiz late. But you guys are going to scream robbery when he clearly at the very, I mean, in the first, I mean, I overturned my pick on the first round. I had Loma winning the first round yesterday, a close swing round. But after watching it again, yes, Haney was a little fidgety and nervous, and that's part of the reason why I gave Loma the first round, because he looked way more comfortable, and the couple of shots he landed was clean. But after rewatching it, no, Devin Haney landed a big left hook. He landed a good amount of body shots early, all right, and he kept it up throughout the fight. And Haney clearly landed more right hands. I mean, all three judges gave Haney the first round. Max Kellerman unofficially gave him the first round. Most people gave Haney the first round. But as I'm watching it last night, he looked so uncomfortable. I felt like Loma should have won the round. But after rewatching it, no, Haney landed more. And it was clear. He landed more in the first round. In the first half of this fight, he outworked Lomachenko. He outpunched and outthrew and outlanded Lomachenko. Well, I don't know if he outthrew, because Lomachenko missed a lot. He missed a lot. This super overly technical wizard just wasn't that good last night. He just wasn't that good. I remember him attacking early. And I had to go back and watch those fights and remind myself, like, Lomachenko was a threat early. At one point in his career, he was a threat early. He didn't always have to wait. But when he had to face certain fighters more recently that were better fighters, he had to give rounds away. He had to give a lot of them because of the danger. Because of the danger they brought and the punches that they were able to land. That's Devin Haney. That is Teofimo Lopez. These guys did better and clearly won the early half of the fight. All right, Lomachenko, yes, I gave him, I won't even say I gave him the majority of round. He won more rounds in the second half. But, the 10th and 11th round were the only clear rounds for Loma. I think Loma is a lot of sympathy rounds here. Haney was more consistent almost every round. Almost every round. Almost every round. And it's like whenever Loma landed, it was just like a big deal. It was a big deal. Haney was much more accurate, much more effective. Talking about street fights, look at the faces of the two after the fight. I don't even like to do that kind of thing. I don't like to do that. But, for the people that's making it seem like this is the worst robbery of all time, no, it's not. This is not it. It was competitive, but I thought it was a unanimous decision for Devin Haney. And now that he's won the fight officially, you might as well feed off of it. Because everyone hates you at this point. I'm sure out of his core, hardcore fans, they're going to support him. But outside of them, everybody hates you. And everybody's picking against you no matter who you fight. In fact, people hate Tank so much that people will want Tank to beat Haney up. Outside of that, after this. After that performance, or after that win, people are going to want you to lose to anybody you face for a long time. Because the reaction to this is out of control. I mean, we see real robberies. This is not even close to being one. It's not even close. Not even close. Vasyl Lomachenko was way better than this. And I know he feels he's never lost a fight. That's fine. That's on him. But it's ridiculous how a lot of his fans feel that he's never lost a fight. Ever. I heard the same thing from Teofimo Lopez, Salido. All right? It's just, dude, you were dominant at 126 and 130. It got tougher at 135. And the fights were just tougher. They were tougher. They were tougher fights, and you look much more vulnerable in those fights. All of them at 135. You know, it is what it is. Your biggest flaw is giving away too many. I can't. I just like, and I said this last night. I just don't understand how you can qualify a robbery when a guy deliberately gives up the first 6 rounds of the fight. I just don't. I don't understand. You know, and Haney still won rounds in the second half of the fight. You know what I mean? I don't get it, man. I don't get it. I am not with it. I think the biggest issue that I've had with these scorecards here is the fact that Dave Moretti gave Devin Haney the 10th round. I do think that's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. All right, but other than that, I mean, he also gave Loma the second and third rounds. All right. He gave Loma the 6th round as well. He gave Loma 3 out of the first 6 rounds, which I think is ridiculous. Also, you know, the other 2 judges, Tim gave Loma only 1 round out of the first 6, and David gave 2 rounds out of the first 6, which is, I think, is fair. To give Loma 3 rounds out of the first 6 is crazy to me. So Davis is all over the place. Dave Moretti is all over the place. But there's only 2 clear Loma rounds, in my opinion. And those were the 10th and 11th rounds. That's the way I see it. Officially, I mean, last night I gave Loma the first, the 7th, the 8th, the 10th, and the 11th. And I gave Haney the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, the 9th, and the 12th. You know, I thought the 3rd round was close. Okay. I thought the 3rd round was close. All right. I thought the 7th and 8th rounds were swing rounds that I gave to Loma. You know, I watched it again. I almost gave the 8th to Loma. I mean, Haney, I was just not digging what Loma was doing. I don't think he was giving me enough, you know, and I don't want to be sitting out here just giving him sympathy rounds because he's the underdog and he's doing less. Every time he lands a left hand is such a big deal. You heard it in the commentary. It just, I'm not doing it. Haney was consistent every round. Every round. And it wasn't just right hands to the body. All right. He was landing right hands up top too. Loma was walking straight into that. Loma, watch the Gary Russell fight. Watch the Nicholas Walter fight. Watch those earlier fights in his career where he was keeping his head off the line as he attacked. He is not doing that anymore. He no longer has the reflexes. He don't have it. He can't do it. He doesn't have the ability to do that anymore. He just doesn't, you know, and he's a great fighter. He's going to be a Hall of Fame. You know, he's going to be he's a great fighter. All right. He done a lot. Obviously the greatest amateur fighter of all time. He came in, he started at the very top. All right. Fighting Salido, fighting Gary Russell. He started at the very top, fighting top dudes. All right, that guys wouldn't see, you know, anywhere lower than 15 fights in. All right, his 2nd, 3rd fight in, he started at the very top. So I give him credit for that. All right, and he was dominant for a while at 126 and 130. But once he got to 135, things changed. I mean, you cannot tell me that this guy that we saw last night, Ortiz fight, Teofimo Lopez, that this man here is anywhere near on that level. You cannot tell me that he is. Because there's a clear difference in what he was doing then. Because the ability he had back then. He didn't need to download information take that long to do it. You know? And I think that's a problem with the fighters like him. And this was said in earlier videos that I did about him. I said when you're that athletic, right? And you have that phenomenal reflexes and be able to stand in front of guys and do the matrix and make them miss. When you're doing that well, what happens when you age a little bit and you have to rely on your boxing ability alone? You know, when you have to rely on that alone, you have to go harder to pull off those stoppages, you know, or to win fights. We're seeing it right now. We saw it with Roy Jones Jr. We saw it with other fighters. We saw it with Tyson. These freakish athletic fighters that's able to move in ways that looks amazing, that has great reflexes. What happens when you lose some of those reflexes? You got to rely on your boxing ability. And for him, it's just not enough. We need more. And he's getting hit too much. And you guys that are Loma fans, that hardcore, you cannot act like you can't unsee that. You can't act like you don't see that. You cannot act like you don't see that. Devin Haney won the fight unanimously to me. Especially after rewatching it. You know, I was cool with it going either way last night, but after watching it again today, it didn't even help that I watched it again for Loma, you know, because I stand by Devin Haney winning the fight, you know, and I think he needs to jump on this villain thing he got going on at this point, you know. Hopefully he could get a tank fight. I don't think the Shakur fight happens. You know, I would love to see the fight, but I don't think it happens. You know, I think he should try to get the Tank fight. He is a free agent. Bob Arum has already told Vasyl Lomachenko that he won the fight clear. I don't know if that's going to have any kind of effect on Haney sticking around on Top Rank. I know I was watching the ESPN Ringside Instagram account this morning. They were showing all of the highlights of Lomachenko beating him up. You know, and people were in the comments like, this is the robbery. Yeah, when you look at those highlights, absolutely. You know, I mean, they're going to push the narrative that he was robbed. But every loss he had, he was robbed. You know, he just didn't do enough. And he didn't do enough against Teofimo Lopez. And he didn't do enough against Orlando Salido with all the cheating and the low blows. He still didn't do enough. He didn't do enough. All right, so that's my thoughts on that. I don't know where he goes from here. You know, I don't know if he retires like that. I doubt he retires. But as far as him getting like undisputed, you know, I think those opportunities are done. You know, I think when I think of Lomachenko, I think pushing to become, you know, unified and or undisputed. I think he had a better chance of probably becoming undisputed down at 126 and 130. I think 135 should have probably have been his last stop. I mean, it is his last stop, but I think he probably should have stayed at those weights a little longer. But, you know, at the end of the day, he pushed. I respect Loma because he's fought tough fights throughout his whole career. So I respect him for that. Fighting Devin, he fought Devin and Tio. You know what I mean? Undefeated fighters, tough contenders. I give him a lot of credit. And Jermaine Ortiz. I give him a lot of credit for those taking those kind of fights. You know, so I respect him. He fought a lot of good guys at 135. But just because he did that doesn't mean I have to sit here and, you know, praise, you know, or sit here and say that he won fights that I don't think he won. You know? So I think I made my point. I'm sure we'll be talking more about this. But this is another fight that Lomachenko lost in my eyes. No hate, but he lost the fight. All right? Again, I'm sure you guys will be letting me know what you feel. I'm going to be getting smoked and burned. It's all good. But that's my thoughts on that. And that's the realest you're going to ever get it. You know. Anyway, I'm out of here. You guys have a good day. Peace. Peace.